I promised myself I wouldn't talk about it. The next day, there are four things, really quickly. Blockchain is real, it's technology, it can be public or private, it can be for 5 people, it can be for 5 million. It's going to work. You already use it in a lot of test cases, stuff like that, so we're a supporter. I do worry a little bit about the security, because like I said, we move $6 trillion a day, real time, quite efficiently, effectively, and secure. Before you replace that, you got to make sure you can do it right. There are 3 cryptocurrencies. Okay, 3 types, 3 separate types. One is ICOs. ICO, and I haven't studied these things, but you're paying for a token that allows you to use a service, which is very different than a currency, but that's what people call cryptocurrencies. And maybe, Jim, maybe you've studied some of these ICOs. I have no idea, about some will give you cloud services or some can give you investing services. That's one type. The second type, you can use cryptocurrency for fiat currency. Well, that works because it just uses a different technology to move money around. Basically keep your money digitally anyway, and if you just keep different files in a different way and distributed ledgers, that would work fine. But I've always thought about Bitcoin as a currency and a store of value and a payment mechanism, is that governments, and this is my belief, and I may be wrong, I'm not saying you can't go to $100,000, that governments are going to crush it one day for 3 reasons, okay? One is when it's used for terrorist activities. Okay, it'll happen. It's a matter of time. It'll go back to a Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden the DOJ, the United States government, all these people in Washington who profess to love technology and novelty of Bitcoin are going to change their mind. Number 2, when a lot of little old ladies lose their money, because the speculative vehicle was allowed to exist by the United States government, and they're going to lose their money and they're going to be pounding. You should have done something about it. And number 3 is the most important. Whenever a government forms itself and you go to any country in the world, pull out the currency, look at the date, that fiat currency was formed by that government with the central bank, because governments like to control their currency. They like to know who has it, where it's going, why it's going, when it went, etc. And right now, Bitcoin's a novelty.
What do you think is the opportunity in a career in finance that some among the audience maybe aren't seeing?
So, first of all, one thing about tech has driven, I don't think it's different than it was before, it's driven change throughout all of history, and all various forms of technology, from the actual, from chips to internet, but also, printing, energy, institutions, schools, the churches, the dissemination of morality, and that's what's always changed society. And it's always at the root. It's at the root of changes in businesses. It's the root of changes in what companies do well and what companies don't do well. So it is absolutely critical. I personally think that Silicon Valley kind of got a free ride with Obama and the White House. They pandered. You pandered to him, and he pandered to you. And now you're seeing a little flip side of that. So the big companies, the successful ones, are going to find out, which I've known a long time. The bigger you are, the more the government's going to get inside what you do and want to impose on you and set rules and standards, and sometimes for good, and sometimes not for good. But so financial services. So I think technology is an absolutely wonderful thing. But financial services. First of all, we are a huge user of technology. We spend $9 billion a year. So we're not at the bleeding edge, but we're damn close in terms of what we spend money on, what we do, our data centers, our capabilities, our mobile, digital, moving. We move $6 trillion around the world every day, digitally. Not cryptocurrency, but close to it because it's digital. We bank 50 million people in our households, and soon we're going to have online investing and robo-investing, all these various things to link into our accounts. So we are huge users of that kind of stuff. We also obviously use the advertising of Facebook and Google, et cetera. But financial services is always going to be an interesting business because it's not the most important business, but it is at the nexus of how a capitalist society functions. It's part of the spin wheel. And when I say financial services, I'm talking about all of it. Private equity, venture capital, activists, whether you like them or not, banks, non-banks, individual investors. A lot of companies that do things individually that help change the world a little bit. But it's always going to be this field that where money gets invested, ideas come together, things get executed, capital gets executed globally. So it's always fascinating. It'll always be well paid. Whatever some of these folks say in DC, it has to be well paid, because you can't do it with dumb people making dumb decisions if you're thinking to actually run a good economy or something like that. It'll always be a high-tech user, and it'll always be complex and global by its nature. And so it's a fascinating business.